This is Gradisca di Isonzo in northeastern Italy. This is the free motorhome rest place. There's space here for 3 motorhomes, although somebody's parked over there as well, so there's more. There is, in front of me, there's a grey and black water dump, and there is water. There is a park. There is a shop, which is very well stocked at reasonable prices, should you so desire. There is a petrol station, and it's got gas. And there is a starling which is giving you some wonderful music in the morning. Although I can't guarantee the starling will be here. In fact, it's just flown off now, and a blackbird has taken its position. Gradisca is a really attractive town. It's one of the most attractive towns in Italy. There's an organisation which is so called, and it's easy to see why. Now, I came here on my bicycle 4 days ago, and it was amazing. The entry to the town I took was from the eastern side. I crossed the Isonzo River on my bicycle, and when I came into the town square, I was literally, I thought it was amazing. It's really nice. Got Fortification. Anyway, I'm going to show it all now. I came here last night. I was staying at a place called Redipulia, which is about 6.5 kilometers by road from here. And I came here because of there was a conference yesterday. I only found that out thanks to Facebook, and that only happened because I looked up Gradisca's Facebook site, and there I saw it was advertised. So I came to the conference for the First World War. There was about 40 or so people here, which was very nice, including people from Belgium, from the First World War Museum in Ypres, and via Skype to World War I Museum in Verdun, and in Kansas City, Missouri, where the American World War I Museum is. Now, why World War I? Because here, this was almost a frontline town. The front, this was only a couple of kilometers to the east of the town, on the other side of the Isonzo River, when Italy invaded Austria-Hungary in May 1915. It declared war on the 24th, so invaded on the 25th. This place here was captured at the beginning of June. Austria-Hungary recaptured it at the end of October 1917, but following the Battle of Vittorio Veneto at the end of October 1918, it was recaptured by Italy and stayed part of Italy, despite attempts by Yugoslavia to lay hands on this area after the Second World War. There is a Slovene-speaking minority in this area. Before the First World War, we have the Austrian census of 1910, which shows us that Italian was the most spoken language, but there were people speaking Slovene, German, and a couple of other languages, including Hungarian and Czech. Czechs got everywhere, but never really in large amounts, except for what is now the Czech Republic, and some 1 or 2 places in Volyn, which is now Ukraine. And this is Viale Trieste, motorhome parking, Viale Trieste 40. In front of me is where we're going, which is the main square. So we have the intersection of the Viale Trieste, Via San Michele. San Michele is up there on the cast. It's a location of major battles in the First World War, 1915, 1916. I hope to be going there next couple of days. And there we have Via Ciotti. Now, when I came here, I crossed the Isonzo down there, walked up here, round the corner, and I saw this fantastic view. This is really brilliant. We've got the pedestrian Via Ciotti down there, which is pedestrians, got church, late medieval church down there. We've got this theatre. It's a bit of a mix between Italian, Austrian, Habsburgish. I think really very nice. And now up there we can see the Venetian lion. Now it was Venice which to a large extent made this town grow, because using the Isonzo as a defensive barrier, it was decided to fortify this place, and this happened from around 1470 to about really in the beginning of the 16th century, because the fortifications continued. I'll talk about that a bit later. And below it we have some 4 scenes on each of the history of Gradisca, and here we have Mr. Ciotti himself, who gave his name to the street which is behind me. Now, as far as Marziano Ciotti is concerned, he took part in the war against the Kingdom of Two Sicilies in 1859-1860, and then he took part in what is called in Italy the Third War of Italian Independence, but most others know it better by its other name, which is the Prussian-Austrian War of 1866, when Prussia and what was to become Italy were allied in attacking Austria. And whereas the Italians didn't have much success against the Austrians, the Prussians did. It led to the unification of the North German Confederation, dominated of course by Prussia under Bismarck. The Austrians were so cheesed off at having to give up land to the Italians, which was part of what we now know as the Veneto and parts of Lombardy, that they gave it to France, and France the following day handed it over to Italy. Now, Mr. Ciotti was one of those, allegedly, because I find this story very hard to believe. What happened in 1859, there's a group of 1,000 people under Garibaldi, went off, landed in Sicily. Today we'd probably call them terrorists. They're not sort of called that. They got them the name of the 1,000 in southern Italy, though they would possibly take more my attitude. Anyway, so these 1,000 characters turned up in Italy, and they managed to overthrow the Kingdom of Two Sicilies, Kingdom of Naples, and the story about this I find very suspicious. But I think it's not really the time to go into that, because I've gone into other films. I've talked when I'm in Gaeta and other places. I've talked about this, and so I won't do it now. So we'll have a walk down there. First we'll have a look at the Venetian lion. So let's have a look at some of the history of Gradisca. Now, when Venice controlled this area, it decided to fortify Gradisca, which was at the time inhabited by 7 families. So I suspect that is the construction. Now, one of the people who was brought in as a consultant was Leonardo da Vinci, and he turned up in the year 1500. So you can see there, less than 10 years into construction, and they've already built the gate, which we will be seeing a bit later. Now, 1511 to 1915. Well, Venice spent all this money building the town fortifications, got the big man at the time, Leonardo da Vinci, to come in as a consultant, and Leonardo's job was to work out how to build a moat which would defend the town. So the idea was, if the Turks suddenly turned up, they'd open some gates and the water level would increase, and that would give them more protection. Indeed, where I've left the camper was part of those defences, although as the town expanded in the 19th century, as happened in many places, walls were destroyed. But fortunately they didn't destroy all of them, so that's something for us to see today. But in 1511 the Habsburgs got control of the town, so they got control of the fortifications already built, which turned out to be not much use. And they stayed here until 1915. It did fall into the hands of a family called the Eggenbergs, but they were under the tutelage of the Habsburgs anyway. And when their line went extinct, it went back to the Habsburgs. Now in 1915, Italy, although it had an alliance with Germany and Austria-Hungary, attacked, and it captured Gradisca. Now on the 4th of November 1918, the First World War came to an end. On the Italian front it was the 4th of November. The Austrians asked for an armistice which was signed near Padova in a place called Villa Giusti. And 4th of November, that was it. And that was the end of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, which was falling to bits. So, and it was the internal disorder. The same as with Russia. You've got the internal disorder, which pulls Russia out of the war. Internal disorder pulls Austria out of the war, and it pulls Germany a few days later out the war as well. So, come back and have a look at this. I'm sorry for the weather. It rained yesterday when I was here on Wednesday. I didn't film it on Wednesday, and it was such a lovely sunny day. Now, I was thinking of waiting until the sun improved, but I've got little time now. I've still got places I want to see, I've got people to see, all to do with the First World War, and so I can't really hang around and wait. Now, this road here was made pedestrianised quite recently, as are a couple of other streets in the centre. Now, I came down here on my bicycle, I said on Wednesday. I met the lady who owns this shop here, and she gave me a calendar, and we had a bit of a chat. And the calendar was a historic calendar with things about the First World War. So that is something which I've got to read. People give me lots of books and materials about the war when they sort of found out how interested I was, or I am. Now, as we come down this street, this is pedestrian street, and it's got some. It does look old because with the drain in the middle and all this. Maybe once upon a time there was a drain down the middle, but I don't suppose there was 30 years ago when it was a normal thoroughfare. And we have something very unusual at the bottom. They are people selling herbs. I like that. Herborista is a sort of more or less could be homeopathic stuff, but it can also be. So I like scented things which I use in my van. For example, I use I burn lavender. That's when you burn it. I put lavender essence in a burner and with water in it, and it diffuses very nicely. Now, here on the right, pedestrian street, we have a mechanic. I've never seen that before. There we go. There's the mechanic. So you bring your vehicle down here to the mechanics. And yesterday in the town hall, which is on my left, and the tourist office is inside there as well, which we can see, Palazzo Torriani, which dates to the 17th century and restored in 1973. And the conference was there yesterday. It was inside very nicely decorated rooms. So, like much of the wealthy buildings, they date to the Habsburg era, because wealthy people came here then. The church from 15th and 16th centuries, so it's almost as old as the walls, which we can see there. Now, in places the walls were up to 20 metres high. Can you imagine sort of the amount of work for the Venetians building that at the end of the 15th century, and as it turned out, it was all for nothing, because the Turks never came here, and as soon as the Austrians turned up, they captured it. Now, Venice, by this time, was beginning, I think it's fair to say, its decline. There's a number of things that happened to cause it. Now, Venice probably hit its peak at around the 13th century. In the time of the Fourth Crusade, it was Venice which directed the Crusaders from Palestine, where they were meant to go, to Constantinople. 1204, they captured Constantinople, sacked it, stole as much as they could. Some of it was brought back to Venice, and you can still see it there today. Venice was a trading nation. It was a nation which had a form of democracy going back to its foundation in, say, the 8th, 9th centuries. But, obviously, a form of democracy which worked for the wealthy only. But the Doge, which is like the word duke, Mussolini used the word duce. This all probably comes from a similar source. And but its wealth was based on trade. Mainly, it had a huge fleet. You can still the arsenal in Venice today. You can see where ships were built. It was said that one ship a day got launched from Venice. I don't believe that. I think that's sort of nonsense, because it would mean that they're building one a day, even allowing for days off and all the rest of it. They must have been building 250 a year. Well, I can't see where that's coming from. But that apart. But for two reasons, its power declined. The first was the growth of the Ottoman Empire, which in 1453 itself captured Constantinople. The Byzantines were never able to recover from the loss of territory during the Fourth Crusade. Although the empire, 250 years later, collapsed. Well, the British Empire didn't even last that long from the beginning to the end. So, putting things in context. So, the Ottomans were fighting the Venetians, capturing islands from them in the eastern Mediterranean. And secondly was the discovery of America, which brought new trade. So that was 1492, but by the 16th century it was much greater. So Venice had lost its ability as a sea power. But Venice itself took a long time to decline. It wasn't until the Treaty of Campo Formio, 1797, where Napoleon and the Habsburgs divided the Venetian lands up between themselves. So that was a very long decline. So from here to Venice, it took the Austrians nearly 300 years, and you can do it today in an hour on the motorway. Took me a bit longer because I used the normal roads. But how about that for fortifications? Imagine all the work to do it. Now, the ditch, the moat, is down there. But Leonardo certainly had something bigger in mind. I take it I can't go any further, so I won't. Now, doesn't this deserve the title of one of the most attractive towns in Italy? As we walk past these Venetian walls from 16th century, we've got a housing block. You may say that doesn't look very attractive. Well, I would say people have to live somewhere, and it's a great place to live because they've got views of the Isonzo River, which in my opinion is the most attractive river, well, in Europe, let's say. It's the most attractive I've seen. Maybe more attractive there is, but I haven't seen. It's got a lovely colour. This is the bridge over the Isonzo River, which gives wonderful views to the mountains. But you can imagine what was going through the minds of the Italian soldiers. In fact, when they captured this, the Austrians hadn't actually offered a huge amount of resistance. What the Austrians did after the Italian invasion of May 1915 was they treated to the high ground. The Italians advanced so slowly because the politicians who declared war hadn't coordinated this with the military. This is now my opinion, others may disagree, and I'm open to people saying where I'm wrong, so if I'm wrong please say so. But the result was the Austrians retreated to positions like that in front over here, which that's the karst high ground, and the mountains, and the slowness of the Italian advance meant they were able to pull troops back. Those that were fighting the Russians in Galicia and other places, and those which were facing the Serbs. And the result was that by the time of the beginning of June, on the 5th of June 1915, the Italians were facing Austrians dug in to positions on high ground, which they then had to capture, having taken so long to capture the plain which is behind me. Although the Austrians had set up some booby traps and some roadblocks, but only thanks to slow Italians, and it worked really, really well as far as they were concerned. And the mistake of General Cadorna, incredible mistake, not moving fast when it was necessary, but later throwing hundreds of thousands of men across this river in 11 battles, which was absolutely, particularly up here on the karst and over there in the Julian Alps, incredible stupidity. I mean, the amount of people we in the United Kingdom think of General Haig as being a butcher. Maybe there are those, I mean, I appreciate there are arguments in favour of Haig that he tried to reduce casualties. In the case of Cadorna, I can see absolutely nothing in favour. To my mind, he's the worst butcher of the First World War. Utterly no respect for people's lives. And again, if you've got better ideas, let me know what they are. Italy, it should be remembered, was the aggressor against Austria, whereas Austria was the aggressor against Serbia. The entry into the war of Russia is disputable. In my opinion, Russia was to a large extent an aggressor, but it was defending Serbia. On the other hand, the terrorists which killed the Archduke, Franz Ferdinand, did get their weapons from the Serbian government and the refusal of Austria's points by Serbia was that they couldn't allow Austrians to investigate in Serbian territory, which I think would be the usual done thing these days. Whatever. Italy's war against Austria was wanting to capture the lands here, the land we can see around us here, including many areas which were inhabited by Slovenians, about 300,000 of them, and a large amount of Croatians as well. Anyway, that perhaps is for another time. Now, what I was doing, being here at Redi Puglia, came here on my bicycle and I crossed this bridge on my bicycle, so that's how I entered Gradisca, with these views in this countryside. Now, my plan is I want to go back onto the karst up there. I've been there now, 4 times, but I want to go back, and there's 2 places I want to see, and San Michele and San Martino. And the thing is, I'm not going to go up there on my bicycle in the rain. So that's one little thing I'm determined not to do. But so now, why don't you just go up my camper van? Yes, of course I can do that, but that'd be the easy way out, wouldn't it? And the other thing is, I don't know if it is possible to get up there in the van. I've been told of low bridges, and the roads are very narrow, and so I'm gonna do it on my bicycle, but I might have to wait for the weather. Today it was I think it was 15% or 20% chance of rain. Yesterday it was pouring down, but other days last week it was absolutely outstanding. So this place here, as you can see, it's called Poggio Terza Armata, so it's Poggio of the Third Army, named after the Italian army which conquered the area. Briefly, it should be pointed out, because after the Battle of Caporetto, the Italians here, after losing hundreds of thousands of dead and even more wounded, not including those with post-traumatic stress disorder, pulled out of this area at 0 cost to the Austrians. At least 0 cost in this area. So having seen the Isonzo from one angle, let's have a look at it from the other, and let's cross back into Gradisca. Now, Isonzo, as it's got this wonderful colour, but it's even better in Slovenia, where it's called Soča, and you can see that in other films, and I shall be going there in the next few days. Location you've got down there is Sagrado. Car park here, and along the car park we have these fantastic views. We have them. The walls of Gradisca. Now, the castle, unfortunately, you can't actually go in it, which is a bit of a pity, but no doubt there's a very good reason for it, of which I don't know.